Hi Vijay, my name is Ellen. I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's take a look at what you have written here in this set. We've got the English and Homestay letter. Dear Paul, I am John, student of UTS, writing this to let you know about my visit to UK for English and Homestay program next month. Let me explain my current situation. I have never traveled to any place before, other than my home country. Through internet, have learnt that winters are cold in UK. Since I am going to travel during peak winter conditions, do I need to carry winter clothing while coming? Please let me know. Also, it would be great if you can provide me with a list of banned items that are not allowed to UK. I would be arriving in London next month on February 17th at this time. I am pretty much excited about this travel and can't wait to see you guys. I'm hoping you'll be picking me from the airport. I will keep you posted if there are any delays or changes in the schedule. Thank you for your consideration. Yours faithfully. Okay. So, VJ, let's see. Let's take a look. I wanted to read the whole thing through, obviously. Let's talk about the task itself, okay? So you're writing a letter to the host family. Um, so let's make sure we understand what is being asked of us. There's a program called English and Homestay. You're going to be staying with a family in the UK who you've obviously never met before. All right, but um, you have been kind of like matched with a family who will be your hosts. And so you're writing to introduce yourself, to thank them probably, and of course ask those questions. Okay, so um, so like I said, you don't know them. Now, there are two ways to approach this letter. One would be to approach it in a neutral style, and another way would be to approach it in a formal style. I'm always more of a fan of approaching this in a formal style because neutral is typically reserved for maybe authority figures, but people who we have some sort of ease with, like for example, maybe our manager, maybe our professor. You could use a rather neutral style here. However, when we're talking to somebody we've never actually met, it's probably a better idea to go more formal. All right. So why am I telling you that? Because I thought that most of your letter was rather informal, which means that we absolutely have to change the register. That's what this is called. If you get the register wrong in IELTS, this will affect your coherence and cohesion score. Okay. So it's really very important that you understand the task and understand what is required. Okay. So that's the first thing. The other thing that I want to talk about was your grammar, but we'll talk about that a little more. Why don't we go through this one more time, and I'll tell you what I thought you needed to change a little bit. So, like I said, it's formal, so I wouldn't have started with Paul. I might have started with Dear Mr. Smith, Dear Smith family, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, something like this, okay? So that's one thing. And then you started straight away with introducing yourself. The problem with that is that it disregards some of the conventions of letter writing. And what I mean is it regards some of the kind of formalities that we use in letter writing. So as I said, for me, this should be a formal letter. And in formal letters, the first thing that we do is express the reason for our writing. All right. So you kind of did that, but I would have changed it around. So I would have done it like so. I would have said, Dear Mr. Smith, I am writing to thank you for agreeing to be my host family for the English and Homestay program and to introduce myself. Period. My name is John something. Okay. Student of UTS. Period. I am very excited to be coming to the UK and to meet your family. All right. That for me would be an appropriate opening. Okay. Then I didn't really love this sentence. Let me explain. I don't like it feeling like such a command. Okay. So I think what would have been better um, is if you had said, prior to my arrival, I would like to ask some questions in order to be prepared. Okay, this seems a little less forceful than let me explain my current situation. Okay, it feels a little more polite and a little more appropriate here. Okay, so let's try it again. Prior to my arrival in the UK, I would like to ask some questions in order to be prepared. Okay, then it's through the internet I have learned that winters are cold in the UK. So you can see even my computer has underlined this whole sentence because of the grammatical errors. Okay, so since I am going to travel during peak winter conditions, now here you've decided to write a direct question. Why is that a problem? Because in formal letters, we try to avoid this language and instead we go for something less direct, less, yeah, just less direct. In other words, do you suggest that I carry winter clothing? Or, since I am going to travel during winter conditions, would you mind telling me what winter clothing I should pack? You see, we use these kinds of indirect pieces of language to make our questions sound more polite. All right, and then also, it would be great, no comma here, if you could, is more polite, if you could provide me with a list of banned items, again, no comma here, that are not allowed in the UK. Now, I got to be honest with you. I thought this was rather strange because if I were reading this, I would say, well, what kind of banned items, John? What are you concerned about? What are you thinking about bringing? So maybe you should be a little more specific here. You could say, for example, is XYZ allowed in the UK? This is something I use quite frequently in my country. Okay, that would make sense. All right, now here you've got some grammatical problems. I will be arriving in London next month on this, at this, fine. I didn't like this. I am pretty much excited. We say I am pretty excited, but even the use of the word pretty here feels, number one, a little informal. And number two, it feels maybe not as enthusiastic. It kind of makes the excitement less. So, like we say, it's pretty good. All right. It means like, yeah, it's good, but like I'm not going crazy about it. So using pretty like this isn't such a great idea. And it certainly didn't fit with much. So I am very excited about this. This is a little strange too about this travel. We don't say that. And then this too was super informal. You guys, no, we reserve this for our friends. Certainly not this sort of situation. So let's delete this whole sentence and try something else. I will be arriving in London next month on February 17th at this. I am extremely excited about my trip and looking forward to meeting you. Okay? Not I am hoping. I would have preferred, I hope that you'll be picking me up from the airport. I will keep you posted if there are any delays or changes in schedule. That's fine. Thank you for consideration. I didn't really like for your consideration. You're not being considered for something. Like this would be appropriate in a job application letter, but here it didn't feel quite right. So thank you in advance for hosting me. Would have been okay. And then this was wrong, yours faithfully, because we only use yours faithfully when we don't know the name of the person we're writing to. So then it should be yours sincerely. Okay? So that's my feedback for this. I felt I had some issues both in terms of the register. All right, this was too informal, and then grammar as well. Okay, so those are the two issues that I found. Let's take a look at your task 2. All right, so now let's move on to this task 2 about staying in the same job or switching jobs. Let's see what you wrote. It is often very challenging to make decisions about the career considering different situations and incidents happening in one's life. Although some people believe that employees should stay in the same job for the rest of their lives, others think to switch at least once in their career. In this essay, I would like to discuss about switching jobs is better compared to staying in the same job for whole life. All right, so once again, we've got some issues with grammar, Vijay. I want to talk about those issues, okay? So let's start sentence by sentence. It is often challenging to make decisions about, this is unclear. What does this mean, the career considering? Okay, it's not a very clear expression in English. I'm not really sure what you're trying to say here. So maybe you could have said about career switches or career changes. This would be better. Let's try that. It is often very challenging to make decisions about career changes, different situations, and incidents happening in one's life. Now, I don't really feel you needed to say all this, different situations and incidents, because this essay is not about different situations and incidents. It's just about career changes. So you really should have left this out. One more time. It is often very challenging to make decisions about career switches. Although some people believe that employees should stay in the same job for the rest of their lives, others think, now here you've got more grammar problems. Switching at least once in their career is better. Okay? Grammar issues. Now, the other thing I want to make sure is that you changed language. Look at this. Employees should stay in the same job for the rest of their lives. Employees should stay in the same job for the rest of their lives. You don't want to do this. You took the language directly from the task, which is not a good idea. It will be counted against you in the word count, and it's something that's just not looked upon well. Okay, so change that for sure. Change the language. Provide some of your own language here. So how about something like, although some people believe that it is in one's best interest to remain in one position throughout their career. You see, it's the same meaning, but a lot of different language. Okay? Others think they should switch at least once. That's another way you could have said this. In this essay, I would like to discuss, no, you said discuss about switching jobs is better. Grammatically, this does not work. Again, I would like to, no, you don't even have to say I would like to discuss. In this essay, I will discuss why switching jobs is better compared to staying in the same job, period. Okay? So as you can see, there were a lot of mistakes with grammar, a lot of awkwardness. Let's keep going. Even though sticking in a known job brings stable income and gives security, I believe that people become more comfortable at the job and doesn't want to learn new skills and keep doing identical tasks, restricting themselves to a boring work life. Okay, so the first problem with this sentence is that it's just far, far, far too long. It goes into the third line and it just has a lot of grammatical problems. Okay, sentences that are very long like this are challenging for students whose grasp of grammar is really, really good. But when you have maybe some problem areas with grammar, this type of sentence really needs to be avoided. My rule of thumb is that if you find yourself going into the third line with one sentence, it's too long and you need to break it up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we don't put a comma after even though. The comma comes at the end of the clause. So it should be, even though sticking with a known job brings stable income and gives security, comma, I believe people become too comfortable at the job and do not want to learn new skills. Period. That's where your sentence should have ended. Okay? Then they keep doing identical tasks, comma, restricting themselves to a boring work life. Okay? And then it's all right. If we are in one company for our whole life, lowercase I, it takes years to get a raise or promotion. Why? The growth is very slow and people or employees often end up with a low income. You have to explain this to me, Vijay. Why are you saying this? Why does it take years to get a promotion when you're in the same job? All right. You're giving me ideas, but you're not supporting them and you're not explaining them. And this is the key to doing well in task achievement. Okay. All right. On the other hand, the career growth, get rid of the. On the other hand, career growth is very fast for people, get rid of the, who change their jobs. These people always work harder to learn new skills that help pursue their dreams and career goals. All right. I still feel like you're not explaining your ideas. You told me that when you stay in the same job, you have a low income. When you switch jobs, you gain more income. But I don't really feel like you've explained the reason why. And that's what's missing for me. Okay. You need to make it very, very clear. Okay. So let's keep going. In my experience, I have seen my college senior, who is that? My college senior, who worked in the government office for almost 10 years with the same compensation and has no professional growth as there is no scope in the job to learn new skills. I don't know what college senior is. In English, college senior means somebody who is in their last year of college. So I don't understand what this is. In my experience, I have seen my college senior who worked in the government sector for almost 10 years with the same, all right. There's no professional growth as there is no scope. I don't know what you mean there is no scope in the job to learn new skills. I think maybe there's no opportunity. Maybe. Now, you don't start a sentence with whereas, okay? Not like this. You could have said, however, my other friend has only worked a few years in a company, gained experience, no the, and switched jobs to get a better position and salary. All right, now here's the thing. You've got an example here, but you cannot make a paragraph only out of one example or two examples. Basically, this should have been in your previous paragraph. Okay, so remember how before I said I really need some examples? You should have had, here's what I would have done. Right here, no, actually here, I would have put this example about your friend who had no professional growth. And then I probably would have had a paragraph starting here talking about why switching jobs is so important. And then I would have talked about the other example there. Now, what I'm still finding though, even if you made those changes, is that this is very underdeveloped. It's a short essay in terms of development. Let me just check your word count. Give me 1 second to do that. 304 words. Okay, it feels a little underdeveloped. Now, there is one more problem with the development, but what I want to do is I want to read through your conclusion and then we'll talk about what those problems are. Okay, so I strongly believe that switching jobs promotes faster growth and success when compared to people who stay in one job all their life. I conclude this essay by suggesting people work hard to master new skills and climb up the ladder and switch jobs wherever they see opportunity rather than sticking to one company throughout their life. Okay, that's fine. So, I told you before that this felt underdeveloped. I want you to look at your paragraphs, okay? So, you've got this introduction, which is 5 lines long. You've got this paragraph, and then you've got a body paragraph, which is only 4 lines long. Your conclusion is also 4 lines long. That should be your key. That should be your clue that there's something wrong with your paragraphing. Your body paragraph should never be as long as or shorter than your conclusion and your introduction. Okay? Your conclusion and introduction need to be brief, they need to be to the point, and you need to spend your time on developing your body paragraphs. Okay? So that's the first thing. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the actual task itself again. It says, some people think this, others think this. To what extent do you agree? So what did you answer to this? You said, I would like to discuss why switching jobs is better. Okay. I'm struggling with this because you used this comparison. Okay. You know what? It's all right that you decided to talk about staying in the same job. because you did make this comparison here. You said, I think it's better. So when you have this comparison like this, I understand that you might tell us why staying in the same job is okay. So I'm actually all right with that. My problem is with the way you organize your paragraphs and the way you develop them. So you should have had one paragraph where you talked about the benefits of staying in the same job, okay? That you have familiarity, that you develop camaraderie with your colleagues, that you maybe gain more responsibility as you gain more seniority in the company. Again, always having some sort of examples after each one of these statements. Then this whole paragraph should have been about the benefits of switching jobs and why that's important and why that is really the better option. And then, of course, again, with support. Okay, so that's what I want to see you doing in these essays. When it says to what extent do you agree or disagree, you don't have to talk about both sides. The way you phrased it, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I am going to talk about both sides, but tell you why one is better. So I was all right with that. But those are some of the changes I want to see you make. I want to see you apply these suggestions to your next set. I'll be looking forward to it. So good luck.